Hello, I'm going to show you how I sharpen. It's a constant, everyday activity, times a day sometimes. Some craftsmen will tell you they sharpen chisels that they're working with a lot, working hard with. They might sharpen it 5 times a day. It's not uncommon for me to sharpen something twice a day. It's just like breathing in a shop. It's just a normal activity, and you got to be able to stop, do it quick, and get back to work is my philosophy. So a lot of ways you can do this, and you need to find something that works for you. But I will show you my method and then a couple other little tidbits. I use currently, for the last several years, I use diamond plates. These are from Buck Knives. They're probably made by DMT or somebody because they are a high-grade diamond. These are small. I wish I had larger ones, but these are 2x6. If you could afford larger ones, I would recommend buying as big as you can get, 2x8 or 3x10 or 3x11. Some stones, you'll see Easy Lap has like a 3x10 stone. Diamonds are great, and if you're starting out, buy diamonds, and then you'll never have to buy anything again, so they will be the cheapest thing in the long run. I get kind of, I feel kind of like I'm in a parallel universe where I'm always the antithetical with everything I see, because I see people with so many fancy systems that are really high dollar. And I wonder if, I'm just always trying to be different for some reason, and I don't think I am. But for instance, could you sharpen with a $16 Norton stone? Yes, you can, and I've done it like others have said on YouTube. I used this for years and did just fine. Two-sided Norton stone, coarse and fine, with baby oil, and off you go. I mean, it just does fine. And then when I started getting into more and more detailed work, I started to strop with strops, and I made myself a whole bunch of strops and tried all kinds of different shapes and widths and everything. And the bottom line on a strop is make it wide while you're making it. I like them pretty with a handle and everything, and then use the green compounds, and there's several brands out there that you can get. You can even use the cheap Harbor Freight brand, works pretty good actually. But Porter Cable, they have their brand. I watched for these, sometimes they go on clearance, 60 cents. This is the blue compound, and it's pretty good. But the black is coarse. I don't use that. I had some white for a long time, and it's almost as good as the green. Probably not as good as the blue. But for a good mirror finish, the green is the best. So make yourself some strops. They're worth having. My latest one I'm using is thicker, and it gets your hands up off the table, and it's easy to work with. And that's a great way for stones as well. But I like the smooth ones, but I have done the fuzzy ones too. So you can experiment and see what you like the best. The stones, the yellow is the coarse, the orange is a finer, and then I go to a hard Arkansas, which I got at a garage sale. It's a great old stone. It was an original American stone, Woodworker's Delight, Washita oil stone. I don't know how old this thing is, but it's really an awesome stone. It's actually two-sided, and I can't tell much difference between the grits. And being a natural stone, it will dish out. And to flatten it, you can use your diamond stones. Just flatten it. I use a cheap Harbor Freight stone occasionally to flatten these. I use these to sharpen, by the way, and they're not bad. They just aren't the high grade diamonds, so they wear out quicker, and so you might wear this out in 2 or 3 years. I've had this about 5 years, and it's a good tool. I have another one back here, a newer one, and I use it. But these are better diamonds. The diamond stones do wear, so they get a little finer as you go, as you begin to really use the thing. Norton stones don't tend to dish out. I've not ever dished mine out. I suppose they could, but I've not had that, and I've had this stone for 27 years probably. And don't think that you've got it sharpened to 25,000 or some ridiculous thing. If you do spend more time polishing, you will get better results though. So it's a question of when is enough and what are you doing with the tool. I like shaving sharp. My go-to test, and I never have hair on my arms because I'm always sharpening and I'm always testing. So if it'll shave hair on my arm, I'm good to go for woodworking. So I will show you a plane iron and show you how I sharpen. I'm going to take this Miller's Falls plane I got on eBay. I'll take the lever cap off, plane iron out. I'll grab a screwdriver. Loosen the screw. That's a little tighter than I normally would have it, but loosen the screw. You can slide this, slide it away from the plane cutting edge, twist it, pull it out, and pull it out. You've probably seen that before. If you haven't, that's the right way to do it because you don't risk rubbing your cutting edge. Then I use glass cleaner. You could use Dawn dish soap in water, highly diluted. You could use the premix Smith's, is very good. All it is soapy, oily substance like Dawn with some oil in it. It's sort of a half and half mixture. Glass cleaner is great and it's cheap. So I usually go a little bit on the coarse, but not a lot. I have already flattened the back. You can see the edge. This is the ideal case where it's bellied in the middle. You can see the edge has been polished and flattened. Once you do that, you really don't need to do that anymore. But sometimes I'll rub the back a little. See how you drop down, tip, press flat, a little bit of rubbing. It works good. That's probably all I would do. Keep a rag handy. Let's go ahead and do the front. These are small stones, so I turn this at an angle and I get more coverage. You can go square, but you just have to remember to go back and forth and get every inch of the blade. So I have to have my glasses on, and I look to flatten the primary bevel right on till it kisses that leading edge, and I know that I've found that bevel, and then begin to rub. And you can go side to side, make sure you're getting the whole blade on a skinny stone. Or you can turn on a skew and back and forth. Use the whole stone if you can, and make sure you're covering the whole edge of the tool. You can see all the scratch marks now. Everywhere is touching except the very corners, and that's because I've knocked those off a little. The plane works better. The way you do that is you're on here and you tip this far edge up and you rub this back one as you go forward. Like that. Then you take the front one, tip toward it and lifting the back. I should re-describe that because what I'm actually doing is when I'm up here, I lift up and pull back. So I go forward, lift up, pull back. Like that. And it's knocking a little bit off of those corners and easing those corners out of the way when you're planing. That way you never leave lines in your surface when you're surface planing. Now if you've done a good job, you'll begin to feel a wire burr back here. And you take that off by tip down flat and then drag it backwards. And that burr is now gone. And that's about as long as I need to go. I go to the finer one. Same motion, same everything. Finer stone. You can go square with the stone to make sure you're keeping your blade square, because you don't want to get your blade out of square. That causes you problems when you set the plane. That's already good. I'll go a little bit more. You feel for that burr on the back, and there should be one. I've got it about halfway. I'll do a little bit more on this side here. Get that burr. You get tired of hearing about this burr business, but that's really essential to sharpening, I think. I took a great leap forward in sharpening when I began to be sensitive to the fact that I had a burr. Now I have it across. I'll take it off by dragging it backwards. What the burr is, you have 2 points. You have a flat back, and then the primary bevel comes down. If they meet at the so-called 0 radius, if they meet, you're sharp. During the process, you'll roll a little excess off the edge. That's the burr. That interferes with cutting. You need to knock that off, and then you have your true intersection. And you are sharp. That's the best definition of sharp. Okay, we'll go to the Arkansas stone. I use PB Blaster. PB Blaster. It's a great lubricant for natural stones. It seems to float the steel up, doesn't soak into the stone, and it's lighter than like baby oil. Same motion, find the bevel, tip, and rub. Does it take practice? Yes, it does. And probably the biggest error people make is they quit too soon. They're really not getting a burr, they're really not even near the edge. If you put it under a microscope, all they've done is rub up on the shoulder or somewhere up on the surface and never really gotten to the edge. Therefore, they never created the 0 radius, therefore they're not sharp. Use the whole stone, tip up, and get those little outer corners. Wipe it clean. Now we're a finer grade of scratches there. This is pretty sharp. There's a little burr there. I need to take that off. Flat, and drag it back. And that's sharp. You could work with that tool right there. For a better edge, use the strop. Any of the green compounds work. This is an old bar from Veritas. Really old bar. I'm talking 25 years old. This is a Porter cable bar. It's essentially the same thing. They all do pretty much the same thing. I charge as a center. Sometime I'll do a video on making strops. Charge the center, find your bevel, and then backwards. Always backwards on a strop. I should have showed you first. This is going to get shiny, like mirror finish. So it's already made a difference in those few strokes. If you keep dragging, if you're careful, you can drag those little corners. I don't know if they really need it, but I always do it. But you're looking to get that main center section. I want to mention too, watch out for rolling. I know some people can do that and create a convex edge, especially on knife sharpening. And when you learn how to do that, you can get pretty effective, and that edge does work. On plane irons and chisels, I try to stay flat. I know there's probably some rolling that occurs. You just want to be careful that you're not doing a pronounced roll, because you'll roll right over your edge and you'll dull the edge. The strop can do that because it is abrasive. Look at already it's gotten basically mirror finish. In fact, this will shave hair. It's cutting the hair really easy. There's hair on the blade. It'll cut even better in the actual cutting position like you put it in the plane. It'll cut even better that way. I wouldn't call it hair popping, but it drags along and cuts the hair real easy. Very, very easily. So that's sharp. I mean, for a working tool that you're going to be sharpening again in a day or half a day or 3 days. Some people use paper. That's all right. If you do, I use something really thin like a receipt. And don't do a big swiping motion. Just see if it'll cut into it. If it has a lot of resistance, it's not that sharp. If paper has a grain to it too, so sometimes you'll go one way and it won't cut it real well, and the other way slices right into it. So, you know, if it will cut paper, that's a reasonably good test. Something that's very light and flimsy, though, really tells you more than something stiff. It's obviously going to cut copy paper or something like that. But something really thin with almost no resistance, then you begin to tell whether this is that sharp. This could go a little more and cut this kind of paper even better. I just know from experience this will cut wood plenty good. How many strops would you do? It's anybody's guess. I'm looking for that mirror polish. Also, you can strop the back. Just lay it on there, let it be flat, press here gently, and drag. Don't press too hard, but just drag that. And as you do that, you refine the back, and that'll increase your razor, the razor edge to a more refined edge. So that'll shave paper reasonably well. It shaves hair very easy. If you do everything you've seen here and you do it accurately with practice, you can do this in about 5 minutes, certainly less than 10 minutes. Pop the tool back together and you're back to work. So it's not a big hardship to stop, and it sure makes the work go better. And obviously, if you want to sharpen to 25,000 or something, that's fine. You're just going to create a very refined edge that really performs well, but don't expect it to stay that well for very long. I mean, you're going to have to go through that exercise a lot. So learn to sharpen yourself. I think that's a given. If you're going to work with tools, you're going to have to sharpen. And I've learned to actually enjoy it. I look at it as a challenge, that it's something I can do by hand, fast, and very effective. That's shaving just about like a razor blade would shave. So give it a try. If you haven't gotten into sharpening, this is a good system. It works for me. I know there's more you can do. I know there's machinery and all that. I'm just saying this is a good low-cost method and works very effectively for the everyday workman. Thanks for watching.